Good evening. Welcome to Boro Fans TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. Joining me this week are Tony Guest, David Campbell, and making his debut, Damon LaRoche. Welcome to the show, lad.
Hello. Thank you very much for having us, lads.
Welcome, Damon.
Cheers, Tony. Thank you.
So much to get through tonight, Boro fans. Neil Warnock's extended his stay on Teesside for another year. The scrappy win at Coventry, if you can still remember that far back, followed by the controversial defeat at Swansea, which I'm sure loads of people will want to talk about later on in the show. Boro fans, as always, lots to discuss, lots to chat about. It's your show, so get in touch with us. Let us know on the Monday Night Show. So, David, I'm going to come to you first, mate. Neil Warnock. Despite events on the field of play in the past week, this is probably the most important thing long term for the club. Warnock and his coaching staff are staying for another season. What was your reaction to that news?
We were all expecting it, I think, to be fair. His press conferences, he'd been touching upon planning for next season. So it's good that the fans know where we're going to be from next season to stop all the speculation, along with the players, a bit of stability going into the summer, knowing who they've got in charge. And look, let's be honest, yeah, I think he deserves it. You know, forgetting the style of football, he's massively improved the club since Woodgate era, and it would be a shame for his career to peter out behind closed doors. So all in all, very good news. And I just hope next season he can push us on that next further step, really.
Yeah. And that's the thing, Tony, isn't it? I mean, Warnock's made impressive strides since he joined the club last June. Do you think him agreeing for him yet is a sign that maybe he feels as though his work's not complete here yet?
Yeah. Like you say, he said he wants to go out with fans in the stands. He wants to go to Bristol City and wave to their fans. I don't know why he singled out Bristol City, but I'm just hoping, like you said, we were discussing this last week. I just hope there's something in place for when he moves on. He's staying for another 12 months. You know, if we get the Premier League, if we get promoted, does he then say, I'm staying for another 12 months? So it'd be nice to know what the future plans are. Obviously, even next season's a long way off at the moment. So as fans, we've said it so many times, this season's been a free hit for us, and what Warnock's done with the squad which Woodgate left is unbelievable. So hopefully, if he can get a few of his own players that he wants, and he gets the backing of Bowser and Gibson and gets these players in, hopefully we can make that push, James, because personally now, watching the game against Swansea, I don't think we're far off, mate.
Yeah. Tony, this is a decent one for you. Joe Wainman, friend of the show, Leeds United fan. He's been in touch and he said, Tony, you can respond to this. You boys going to join us or what? We'll be Champions League by the time you come up. I didn't realise you qualified for the Champions League, like finishing 11th in the Premiership or out.
Yeah, you need to sort your goal difference out as well, mate. You know, you've had Bamford getting a couple of in-offs up front for you, so that's no good. I've said from the start of the season, your defence is absolutely crap, and you'll go nowhere with your back four. It doesn't matter who you've got playing for you, but you're a million miles off the Champions League at the moment, mate.
It's not just the back four. It's not just the back four, Tony. It's the goalkeeper as well. He's absolutely
like I said, they just have to be patient. We'll be with them soon, so just be patient, lads.
1 year in the Premier League after 10 years, and they're going to win the Champions League. No wonder most hated fans in the country.
Right, we'll move on from Leeds. Damon, like we said at the top of the show, welcome aboard, mate.
Cheers, mate.
For you, Neil Warnock, what's he brought to the club? And personally speaking, has your perception of him changed since he became Boro manager?
He did, because when he was at Cardiff, my opinion was like he come across a bit arrogant to me when he was at Cardiff. And it might be biased when he's obviously I might be biased because he's come to the Boro, but he's been fantastic since he's come here. I mean, he's took a near relegation team last season, what we were going to be, to what playoff contenders.
Yeah,
really, and he's done a wonder job for me. And if he did call it a day, if we did get a go for me, then you've got the stability there, haven't you? In Kevin Blackwell, probably to take over, and him Warnock goes director of football. That'd be my view on it, anyway.
Interesting shout. David, I was just going to come to you and just say, Warnock's been quoted as saying he's not going to make wholesale changes in the summer. He might add 2 or 3 players to the squad, especially a striker with championship experience. Do you think this is like almost admitting, look, we're not going to get promotion this year, forget about it, I'm planning for it next year? Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, recent games, he's talked the playoffs. You know, you could say it's reverse psychology, but I think he's seeing the gap getting bigger and bigger. And obviously the decisions that are going against us, I think he is admitting it. With the 2 to 3 players, I find it a little bit strange because we've got a lot of players on loan who are going to be returning to the parent clubs, and we've got players out of contract. So I worry that he's only saying 2 or 3. I think we need a little bit more than that, unless he's planning on keeping some of these out of contract players, and he means 2 or 3 additional from that. Beginning of the season, he was talking up playoffs now, but I think realistically, he knows that the chances are limited now, and they're drifting.
Yeah. David Foster there, thanks for getting in touch, has said he thinks we need 3 strikers. Tony, talking about players, how do you think the news of Warnock staying on will have been received in the dressing room?
Well, like you say, everybody's favourite striker to wait, Assam Bolonga, can't be too happy being left at home after the Swansea game. I think it can only be positive in the dressing room, James. I think for the first time in a long time, I think the majority of the dressing room's behind the manager. That was part of Woodgate's problem last season, where he had so many players in that dressing room coming to the end of contracts. And obviously that was his first season, his first job as a manager. And not just the playing side he had to deal with. He had to try and encourage these players to give it 100% while they're, in the last few months of their contracts. And, trying to persuade them to stay. But I think they'll have been they'll have took it quite well in the changing rooms, knowing that they're going to have him balling at them at half-time when they put in performances like they did the other week against Bristol City.
I've just got a question though. Hayden Coulson as well. He hasn't even had a sniff, has he? Under Warnock.
He's been out today, Warnock, hasn't he? I've read something today where Coulson's future is looking quite dodgy now at the moment at our club. Yeah. I think Marvin Johnson at the moment, he's got the option to extend his contract another year. And he's
didn't he, just recently? So
and then you've got Bowler who's pulling up trees for us at the moment. So really, there's no place in the squad for Coulson at the moment. He left them behind to play for the under-23s at the weekend. So he said he needed game time. That's why he left him behind. So I don't know. I don't think there's much of a future at the Borough at the moment for Coulson, unless things change, obviously, with injuries and people coming in wanting to sign our best players. Because Marvin Johnson's been our main threat for 2 seasons now.
Yeah, he has, yeah.
I can see Jed Spence going as well. I don't know why. I can see him going.
I'll go start my car now, eh?
It's an interesting point you make there, Dave, because I think Coulson and Spence were probably what many people saw as our standout players last season under Jonathan Woodgate.
Yeah, they were favourites, weren't they?
Now, yeah, and it's flipped itself around the other way, hasn't it, under Warnock?
Do you think that's because of how bad we were under Warnock last year, though, and because they were showing glimpses under Woodgate? Sorry, because they were showing glimpses, we were just hoping that they would transform us, and then we just realistically knew they were a liability in the end. They were too naive, aren't they? Yeah. I know they're young, but they were just. I
think when he had when he had that blip, Jed Spence, he obviously still's got that blip, but when Tottenham came calling sort of thing, They inquired, didn't they, about him? Mourinho inquired about Jed Spence, and since then, he hasn't produced the form that we know he is capable of doing.
Yeah, it's a big. I think it's a bit of a crossroads for some players at the club this summer, such as Spence, maybe Coulson. Where do they go next? They've shown potential of that. There's no doubt, but it's do they then kick on at the Boro, or do they get the opportunity at the Boro, or do they have to go elsewhere to fulfil the potential? Be interesting one to look at, lads. But we'll go on to the Coventry game. Damon. It was a bit of a scrappy game at St Andrews last week. Safe to say it wasn't the greatest advert for football. I mean, I had a blistering headache at half-time. I haven't watched the first half, lads, but it's all about the result, isn't it, Damon?
Well, that's it. Scrappy throughout the game. Almost fell asleep during watching it. So, but second half, it seems to be a second half team. We seem to be a second half team. For the last couple of games, we've been the second half team, and that's what annoys me really, because we should be dominant throughout the game with the talent that we have. We should be bossing teams, but instead we're just letting them walk all over us.
And David, that first goal again, that'll have really frustrated Neil Warnock, because it was almost a carbon copy of Sean Morrison's goal in the Cardiff game the weekend before, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're not competing for those aerial duels, are we? Maybe with that with McNair not being a recognised centre half, maybe, I don't know. But he was saying that we worked on him for 10 days or so prior to the Cardiff match, so he must be sick as a pig conceding those 2 goals. And it just gives you a mountain to climb after that, doesn't it? Especially with it being so early on in the game.
Yeah, no, it does, mate. And Guesty, one of the things to catch my eye on the night, again, is the growing partnership between Grant Hall and Dale Fry. And Grant Hall, the ex-QPR man, he got his first goal. And it bodes well for the remainder of this season and beyond. If we can keep Hall fit, that they could develop quite a good partnership, them two, couldn't they?
Yeah, it's what we've needed all season, James. I think if these two would have played regular together, without the injuries to Grant Hall, I think we might be I think we could be 9 or 10 points better off. We were shouting for this, 2 or 3 games ago, maybe 4, when Grant Hall was sat on the bench. We had 2 fit centre halves for the first time for a long time, and like you said, we should have been playing them. But now like you say, they look to have struck up a good understanding straight away together. I know that together all day, every day at training. Warnock's most probably got them living in each other's pockets so that they know how each other works. So, yeah, I think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But the last 2 goals, the one against Cardiff and the one against Coventry, even with 2 big strapping centre halves, we shouldn't be conceding goals like that. That first goal against Coventry was just as soul destroying as the one against Cardiff.
Very sloppy play. That's what it was.
Yeah, but we, for the first time in a while, we showed a bit of character. When the ball eventually did come down, we showed a bit of character, and we got back into the game, and it was one of the worst games of football I've ever watched. But we got 3 points, and everything I had watched for that 90 minutes had been forgotten because the 3 points were in the bag.
Yeah,
that's all that matters. That's all that matters at the end of the day. You can have your worst game in history of the football. You still, as long as you get 3 points at the end of it.
Well, you said, Damon, about second half performances, and it was a much improved display in the second half, I thought, from Boro. But I think a lot of that came about when the changes were made and Watmore, Balassi and Johnson came on for Akpom, Cabano and Bowler. I think we looked a real threat then. In your opinion, I know you haven't been on the show before, but what do you think's our best forward line?
Forward line for me is the front three. I'd put Watmore on one side, probably Cabano on the other, pace, and then probably Akpom in just off, or Balassi up top.
Yeah, that's a fair point. There's a few people also getting in touch, lads, about the transfer speculation in the summer and what Warnock should do. Chris Woods has been in touch, David. He said Warnock does attract players, so hopefully in the summer he'll work his magic. And we had our best transfer window in January for a long time soon.
Yeah.
Well, Alex Hughes has mentioned, do you think we'll lose Dale one day? What do you make of those comments?
There was talk about Dale going before, weren't there, to Burnley, and nothing materialised. So
yeah,
hopefully, if he's putting week in and week out thingies, he's going to attract Premier League interest. Same with Tavernier. But it's just up to us if we can keep hold of him. For me,
Dale's a homeboy.
You can't turn down 20 million, lads, can you? 20, 30 million for a player. You can't.
Go on, David.
Money talks, doesn't it? I agree with Damon. If a silly offer comes in for any player, you've got to accept it. But with Dale, I know he's a bit of a homeboy and he's just bought a brand new house, and all these things come into reckoning, don't they, when they're so young, moving away from things and what have you. We've just got to appreciate him whilst he's here, because we look a far better team when he's inside. And like Guesty was saying, him and Hall, if we can keep them fit next season, I think we need to go to a back four rather than the back three. If those two can be relied on as a centre, our partnership staying fit, I think we look better as a four.
Interesting. Yeah.
For me, it's inevitable that Dale is going to go, because he's head and shoulders above everything in that league at the moment. He's commentators are, pointing it out, punters are pointing it out, and that now he's got the rid of Ayala's gone, your Shotton's gone, and he's had to learn on his own for 2 feet this season. For me, he's been absolutely magnificent. He's been on a par with Johnny Howson this season for me, Dale.
Yeah.
What gets me is the likes of Bernie Slaven don't get why the fans rave over Dale Fry. You know what I mean? I don't know what he's watching, and for me, he's one of the best centre halves we've produced since Mogger.
Yeah.
Just to say,
I think Dale Fry. Sorry, lads. I think Dale Fry is more or less in the mould of Ben Gibson.
Yeah. He's a bit quiet. That's the only thing. With being a centre half, you like to see them leading the line, and he tends to be quiet, doesn't he? I worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, Gareth Cole's been in touch there. He said Dale needs to stay. I never used to rate him, but he's probably one of our most consistent players now. And Rob Henry, picking up on your point, Damon, has mentioned there, hopefully Dale will watch what happened to Ben Gibson and will avoid Burnley like the plague. Another player you mentioned there, Tony, and I'll bring this to you, David, Johnny Howson. In that game at Coventry last week, he had a growing influence on the second half, culminating in creating the winning goal for George Saville. Do you think he's getting sort of back to his pre-injury best now?
Yeah, it was captain performance that second half, especially against Coventry, wasn't it? But look, typical Boro Fans, he has one good performance and we all think he's the best player of the season. Let's not forget, after his injury, for the first 4 or 5 games after his injury, he's been very poor. I know he's had a good season up to that injury, but we're quick to forget that he had a bad patch as well. I think his bad patch was with McNair. I don't see those two working together in the centre midfield. When he's alongside Saville or Morty, I think you see the best of Johnny Howson.
Interesting point. Boro fans, let us know what you think about that. Tony, just going to finish off with the Coventry game. If nothing else, that comeback has shown the character that's developed under Neil Warnock in the last 12 months. In recent years, when we've gone a goal behind, it's been game over. But that was the 4th time this season we've come from behind to win a game. And that's a good quality to have, isn't it, Tony?
Yeah, we've waited for God knows how many seasons. Even going back to Pulis, Woodgate, even towards some of the games with Karanka, if we went a goal down, you just know for a fact we're not getting back into it. So 4 times, which surprised me, 4 times we've done it this season, which shows that there is something there, James.
Yeah.
It shows the manager can get something different. the game at Coventry, when you look at it, the players that we brought on, Watmore, Saville, Balassi, every champion, I bet you any championship club, they'd love to have brought them 3 players on, when you're going for the win. So that just shows you the bit of depth and a bit of strength that we have in the squad at the moment. Like you say, I was over the moon, but obviously the game was absolutely dreadful. But them 3 points, if we don't get another 3 points this season, they were 3 points to enjoy for me because it was so poor. Yeah. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
It's amazing.
The performance.
It's amazing. Sorry.
I was just going to say the performance against
Coventry all right.
was worse than the referee's performance that we had for Swansea.
Well, we're going to get on to that in a minute, mate. I don't know if any of you lads watched the game last week with Coventry with the commentary from the West Midlands from Coventry attached to it. I listened to that as well, and I didn't realise we'd signed a new French player as well, Tavernier. When did we buy him? Where's he come from?
Looks a different player, doesn't he?
Yeah, Tavernier. He was a great player, but all interesting. But as Tony's alluded to there, we're going to get onto the Swansea game now, so no doubt Boro fans will get.
I was just going to say, with the squad we've got, 18-man squad to the rest of the league that's got, 23, 26? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely.
And Chris Woods has been in touch again there about, I took a shot every time the commentator said Sky Blues. I was hammered within the first 5 minutes. You've got some. You lasted 5 minutes. I think I had lasted about 2. But Swansea game it is then, Damon. No doubt after winning against Coventry, Damo, the Boro travelled to South Wales in good art, and it turned out to be an eventful game. Much of the controversy came in the second 45, but Neil Warnock mentioned in the first half, early in the game actually, a challenge by Ryan Manning on Dijksteel. He was a bit aggrieved about that. What did you make about that and the first 45 minutes in general, Damon?
Well, that challenge on Dijksteel definitely was a yellow card, if not sending off, probably because he elbowed him, used his arm. It was clearly an elbow. It was clearly an elbow, and then the second one he took his ankle out, and obviously he went off. The decisions were absolutely poor. The first decision was the Johnny Howson putting it to Balassi. Balassi clearly touched the ball, and then their player, I don't know who it was, Jay Fulton, I think he was, and he hopped around like a bloody rabbit.
David, obviously, the first 45 minutes was eventually a little bit disappointing. I thought we played reasonably well. It was a sloppy goal we gave away just before half-time to take us in 1-0 down. But as Damon mentioned there, Gavin Ward took centre stage in the second half. What was your reaction when that Mark Bowler strike was disallowed?
Well, it's a penalty at first things first, isn't it? If he's not going to give a penalty, then, allow the play to continue. But he didn't blow straight away. He waited until the ball was struck, and then he blew. So it was this. I can't see why he wasn't so quick with the whistle to blow it straight away, because there was no advantage to be played for Swansea. It was only ever going to. So you just blow straight away. It changed the course of the game. But soon before that, as well, before the incident, we came out the blocks firing, didn't we?
Yeah.
We looked vastly improved. And Akpom, I think, and he didn't have chances. We don't create chances and work chances, but his work rate just offers another dimension for us for our forward line. Yeah,
that's a good point you make, that, Dave, because I think that was his best display for quite some time, Akpom. And I think he offered a lot more than what Duncan Watmore did. I know it came out after the game that he was maybe suffering with a bit of an illness, but Akpom really impressed me in the second half at the weekend. And Tony didn't just end with that. I mean, their overall performance of the Boro over the 90 minutes, but especially the second half, it was quite pleasing. What impressed you about us on Saturday?
Everything, really. Yeah. even the goalkeeper impressed me on Saturday. I felt, you go into Swansea, the flying eye, and we've done it to a few teams this season. We've gone to Swansea and done to them what teams do to us. At the Riverside, we took control of the ball. There was absolutely nothing getting towards our goalkeeper, and if it wasn't for a calamitous mistake, Ayew wouldn't have got nowhere near that. And then to rub salt into the wound, it deflected off Jed Spence and went past our goalkeeper because it was going nowhere near the goal.
Yeah.
But Howson and Bowler, it was definitely Howson's ball. He should have screamed that Bowler to get out of the way, which for a professional like Howson to be making a mistake like that. But it's done now. But the decisions, I don't know about what went on with Dijksteel. I did see the lads, block him off. The tackle on the ankle. It's quite difficult sometimes when you're watching, just on the red button or on the streams and things like that to see what's actually happening. But the disallowed goal, you can clearly see Bolassi's fist to the ball, and like what the match of the day have jumped on it during the week about the screaming. These players who were getting tackled and how loud they're starting to scream. You could actually hear the Swansea player scream, and he just absolutely flung himself towards the penalty spot. He was nowhere near the ball. He caught Bolassi. Brilliant strike by Bowler. But you could just, even before he blew, I had the feeling he was going to blow us up and disallow the goal. So
it's embarrassing, isn't it? It's embarrassing. Players going down like they've been shot.
The game's gone, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It went a long time ago.
But we still stuck in there.
Yeah.
We stuck in there. And how many games now is it now, James or Damon, Dave, that we've scored in the last 15 minutes? Yeah. We're making a good habit of scoring late goals. And to get a goal that late on, Swansea were absolutely dire. We ran them into the ground.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, that.
And
that game on Saturday.
You're waiting for us to go score a winner.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether should Saville have dived in. But when you see the other pictures, Saville's clearly got to the ball first, so he had every right to dive in. He'd won the ball. You could see he'd won the ball by the direction the ball went. And like you say, we all know what happened next. The referee gives the corner with his right hand. Then his left hand decides to point at the penalty spot. So,
for me, as I said before the start, is like Saville, he looked as if I've looked at it over and over again, and he got the wrong side for me. He's got the wrong side of the player.
Yeah.
It looked as if he double, like their player kicked the ball, and then Saville kicked the ball. Do you know what I mean? So it was like a 50-50 challenge, really.
He bolted Saville's foot onto the ball. There was no contact from Saville onto their player. It was their player who bolted Saville, and he bolted his foot onto the ball. So I don't know how you can get a penalty from that.
He was naive, wasn't he? That late in the game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I think we're disagreeing a little bit here. I can't see how we can give a penalty for that, because I think Saville's not gone towards the man. He's not made contact with the man. He's dived for the ball, but the man's come from behind him and then made contact with him. I don't see how that's a penalty. I can't for the life of me.
No,
I see a penalty.
James, you bang on. You see both sides of the argument, and because we're discussing it at length like this, obviously the referee's guessed it, and if you're guessing it, you don't make the decision, do you? So that's why I think, you could say it shouldn't have been given, because it's not conclusive where everyone's saying, we're all arguing, seeing different angles, so there's no way the ref got that right, and it was salt in the wound the corner and changes.
Warnock's post-match reaction with Sky says it all, doesn't it? He said he went up to the referee, and they can't say boo now at the referees because they don't want to know.
I think the thing is, probably said it to all of them anyway before in the past and twice over. I mean, Paul Nicholas has been in touch and he said, lads, do you think refs hate Warnock that much that they give decisions against us, or is it just out and out bad officiating? What do you think?
That's an excellent point, and it's something I was talking to my friends with as well. Warnock needs to tread carefully because referees and fourth officials stick together and they don't forget, and it could cost us next season as well if he's not careful. Regarding the officiating, I worked out as we could have been 10 points clear if it wasn't. Decisions costing us, but it's across the league, isn't it? I think all teams have got issues, and I think because there's so much streams and the eye stream going across and no fans are in the ground, I think we're looking at these incidents and making more of them. I don't think it's just Boro. I think every time I watch Quest, a manager is complaining about officiating. So I don't think we can always say, oh, it's just the Boro. I think it's across the board. This refereeing is just, it's appalling, whether it's in the Premier League or Championship. So we don't want to say sour grapes that it's all against Warnock, because I think it's across the board. Personally, I don't know what you guys think.
He actually got into a meeting with the referee after the game. The referee allowed him in after the game, and obviously the referee, I've been listening to Warnock today, and the referee did admit he made a mistake with the bowler goal. Like Warnock said, you know, he'll most probably get an apology this week, but he won't get his 3 points back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The officiating in this league, the officiating in this league is just going from bad to worse every season. It goes to another low level. It's absolutely shocking. You know, it's whether I don't know who runs the AFL referees, or whether they all nearly swore that, whether they all I was going to say something about pot, whether they all do that in the same pot as the Premier Leagues. I don't know, but whoever's doing the marking and the officiate, you know, doing the scrutinising of the referees, it's absolutely shocking. Shocking.
Well, I just want to give you lads a stat here. I've just got it in front of me. Gavin Ward's next league game is in League One.
Yeah.
There's something, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I don't know, Dim, what do you think about the fact that, do you think it's maybe influenced by the fact that there's no fans in the ground, that the referees are making some of these decisions, and we're analysing it all to the length that we are this year because there is no fans in the ground? Do you think maybe no spectators in is having an effect or an influence on the referees this season?
It could have an effect, James, but the fact being that VAR's in the Premier League, VAR should be in the Championship as well. If they're going to have it, they should have it throughout.
Yeah.
The thing is,
if they're not, they can't have it in one league.
If it should be, if it's in the Premier League, it should be in every league. It's like the FA Cup. It's like the FA Cup. It's not the FA Cup when you've got VAR in one game and it's not in other games. Do you know what I mean? That
it's ridiculous.
That video assistant referee can, you know, make the outcome of one game totally different with the same decision as what's happened in a game without VAR. There's not a cat and else chance I want VAR in the Championship, because I've said on here before, we won't be getting home till 6, 7 o'clock on a night, because every decision is contentious with the state of the refereeing in that league. So for me, it's 2 different games now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's 2 different sets of rules, 2 different games, because you've got VAR in the Premier League where, God, your fingernail and your offside, where in the Championship, you can still get away with a bit, you know what I mean? You can still, maybe he's nick a yard in front of the linesman, so...
Well, for me, football now is a money game, and it's a money game, and it's a different rule game. They make the rules as they go along.
I agree with. There's definitely 2 different sets of rules now. So,
with regards to the officiating, I'd like to see more ex-footballers involved who played the game, who know these types of tackles and decisions, because they look at the game completely different to referees.
But we've been saying that.
So the grief, though. Yeah. Just before
my dad even said to me, ex-footballers should be referees. I don't know why. It could be a good idea.
Yeah, no, it's something I definitely agree with.
I mean, Tony, I was just going to say, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think Saturday's result will probably alter the outcome of our season too much. But it's not the first horrendous decision we've had this season, is it?
No, there's, like you said, the one that sticks out the most is the one where Dale got kicked in the head. And everyone's saying, well, it was a young lad that done it. Well, give us a penalty fest, and then we'll talk about the young lad that done it. It just seems to be. It's just a recurring theme in this league, like you say, James. I don't think it's only us that's happening to. Them from down the road in West Yorkshire, they thought they were always conspired to, with referees to keep them in the championship. So it's been good. There's no consistency in any of them. That's what frustrates me, James, because we'll come out the first half and you'll think, nice one, we've got a decent referee here, and then you can see he's righting his wrongs from the first half. When some of the decisions they give, it's hard. It's hard as a fan because you know for a fact. Which I'm trying to think which game it was the other week where it was. Oh, that's it. The West Brom Brighton game where he gave a goal, then he disallowed the goal. Then he disallowed it again. Then he gave it again, and there was hell on. Later on in the game.
That was like Lewis Dunk, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah. Later on in this game, Brighton were going to get another penalty. So, I'm not going to say they're all bent, but a lot of them have got hidden agendas for me. But that's me just
what Warnock does, doesn't he? That's the first thing he does. He looks at the referee, see who it is, before he looks at the starting lineup.
Damon, last thing on the Swansea game, Michael Pellin's been in touch. He's got to say, nearly lost my TV in next door's garden after the decisions on Saturday, but must say the players don't help the officials with the constant cheating, and that's a fair point as well. But in terms of the referees we've had next season, are you looking forward to welcoming to the Riverside Gavin Ward and Dean Whitestone in the near future?
Well, he's not on my Christmas card list, put it that way, or on my birthday card list. He'd get a kick up the backside, to be honest, if we allow fans back in. He won't get in the 10 stars, let alone anything else.
He'd be able to give a penalty after 5 minutes, or won't he?
I'll tell you what gets my goat. It's like when I like to get the Riverside early and I stand at the gate with my coffee. What gets my goat is when they all get out the same car together and the three of them walk across the car park like three trolley dollies have just got off a flight with the EA Sports frigging gear on. That really riles me, that. You know what I mean? You're the officials and they turn up and they've got these nice little black trolley bags and that. Like, what the... But
the thing is, the refs are better on the game than in real life.
Unbelievable, man.
There's just no respect, is there, for the referees? Gone are the days where they're scared of like Cleaner and Jeff Winter and referees like that who could stand the ground and what have you. The players, because they play acting, so much.
There is so much of that. The amount of screaming and the amount of... Every time Paddy McNair gets touched, he goes down. I don't know how many free kicks. I don't know how many free kicks he's won us, because anyone goes near him, he throws himself on the floor, and we get a free kick. So our own players are as bad as others. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, though, there's no one better on a dead ball than Paddy McNair in the Championship.
He should take everything.
He should
take everything.
He should. He's that good.
Right, lads, we're going to move off from Swansea now. We're going to look ahead to the weekend, and Stoke City come to the Riverside. David, hopefully the Boro use this week to take the frustrations out on the Potters. But it's still important that we end the season on a positive note, isn't it?
Yeah, we want to push a bit of form going on to the next season, don't we, regardless of how this season ends. So I think we just got to enjoy it and go for it. We've seen, I'm not saying we're going to be able to do it, but look at Barnsley. They won 7 games on a bounce and look where they are.
Yeah.
If we can just get a similar run of 3 or 4 games on a bounce where it's good performances, it just rolls into next season, doesn't it? And I think that's what we want to see as fans, because I think with fans, the biggest frustration for me, I don't know about you guys, is the inconsistency. So if we can at least get our home form sorted from now to the end of the season, I think that's important going into the next season, especially.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And Tony, obviously we lost 1-0 down to Stoke at the Bet365 on a day where Neil Warnock was kicking off this time. Not so much about the referees, but the changing facilities there. You think he's got that Porter cabin ordered up for the weekend for Stoke?
It's the locker room at work. It's full of Spaniards. He's gonna have them changing in there. I don't think we're still to their level, James. You know what I mean? So if that's what Stoke want to be,
there's always home house prison just down the road.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. They can get a nice cup of tea.
Delivered on the dockside.
Yeah.
Like you say, just park them up on Dockside Road and get them changed there. You know what I mean?
Walk down.
There's your facilities. Go dip you. If you want a quick wash, jump in the teas. So, well, look, it's going to be a tester on Saturday against them, because it's never an attractive fixture, is it, James? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And Damon, we're 2 points ahead of Stoke. They're directly below us in the table. Yeah. How do you think Stoke fans will view their season under Michael O'Neill this year? Do you think they'll maybe be a little bit disappointed with how they've fared this season?
Well, like us, James, they were struggling last year, weren't they? As well. Mm-hmm. I can see them doing. They've done all right. Like us, they've done all right. I wouldn't say they've pulled up roots by any chance. They've got aging players. You're like Stephen Fletcher's, your James McLean, who's absolutely dirty, by the way. He's a really poor player. I don't like him at all. But I reckon we'll get a result there.
Okay, then you can have first prediction then. So you reckon we'll win by what score, Damon?
2-1.
2-1, Boro. David?
Yeah, I think we'll bounce back. I'm going to go for 2-0.
2-0. Tony?
We've been down this road before, and we've been away from home. We've had a good win. We've had a positive performance against Swansea. Then we turn up at home, and then we know what happens. Yeah. But I think it's about time we turned our own form round, and Warnock's told them he wants to enjoy it. He wants them to play with a smile on their face. He wants them to have fun. So hopefully he's taking a bit of pressure off them now. And I think we might just nick a 1-0 win on Saturday, James.
1-0, yeah. I think it'll be a tight game, because I think both teams are more or less just a little bit outside the playoff equation now, and I think maybe both teams are probably building for next season, so I don't think there'll be much in it. And David is a good point here from David Ball, who's got in touch with you. He said it's all about next season, getting the form right, also getting the team shape correct and understanding the strongest lineup, and hopefully getting Balassi and Tav on the pitch at the same time. Would you agree with that?
Couldn't agree more. Been saying it for seasons now, haven't we? Stop chopping and changing formation. Stick to one. We all know he likes to play 4-3-3, and I think he'll bring the players in to suit that. With Tavernier and Balassi on one side, that's giving you enough width. But we need that centre forward who's going to play to the abilities of those two. You know, there's pointless them getting balls in the box if we're not getting men in the box. So it's going to be a vital time in the summer to make sure he gets the signings and he gets the right people to suit the formation.
Good stuff, mate.
If you've got Cabano, Tav, Balassi and Watmore, you know, and another, whether if Fletcher stays, you know, or we get a decent striker in, what a season to look forward to. But it's getting Cabano and Balassi to stay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you need pace. You need pace in your team. That pace kills teams in this league. It's proven.
Yeah.
Great stuff, lads. Well, unfortunately, we ran out of time for tonight's show. Thank you to Damon for joining us for the first time. David and Tony, thanks for coming along, lads.
Thank you very much.
No problem, James.
And thanks to you all out there for watching and all your contributions. Much appreciated as always. Enjoy your week, everybody. Until next Monday night from us all at Boro Fan TV. Good night and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.